We have a steering control system, so I can select between magnetic satellite or gyro compass, and then we can go to hand steering, or I can put the steering over to that control port or starboard for like docking the ship or for docking and driving. We can go to this control for steering or these, but most of the time when we're at sea we just use this. This is how we steer the ship. We put it on autopilot, so we just set, like right now we're going 146, so I would go 5 clicks to starboard, and it would make the rudder turn to starboard until we're on that new heading, and then it just has a little electronic sensor which will keep us in that course. The nice thing about that, with this here, it eliminates the job of one person sitting here steering all the time, and then the 2 people that are on the navigation watch can go out and set all the sails. So you need 2 people up here anyway, myself or a mate and a deckhand, and those same 2 people can go out and set all the sails. So it's good application for the commercial world to show that you can use sails without increasing your costs, your manpower needs. That works pretty well.
So on the radar you can see the other ships around you, right?
Yeah,
so
to a certain distance, depending on conditions. Usually 20, maybe 23, occasionally 28 miles. If there's small boats, like small fiberglass sailboats, it's less, so it needs to be a big metallic return to bounce the radar signal. It's a radio wave we send out, and we measure the signal coming back with a microprocessor. So that works pretty well. You can see land, you can see storms coming. So what's really good for a sailing vessel, we've got the wind instruments up there. It tells you what the true wind direction and angle is, and what the apparent wind direction and angle is, and the wind speed. So we look at that, we watch the wind speed, we watch to see if there's a squall coming, because in a squall you get a lot of increased winds, so you maybe have to change course to steer away from it, or maybe you have to run out and strike a couple of sails. Like our tallest sail, we can only take that in up to 23 knots, the fishermen, so we'll have to like strike that before the squall comes and hits the boat to reduce in sail area. So yeah, a lot of this is unique for a sailing vessel. We rely a lot on radar and the wind instruments to see what's coming and watching, but just since we go sailing at night also, then we have to keep an eye out for that. We can shift between 4 different propulsion modes. We have sailing, which is with the propeller feathered and the shaft brake so it can't move, and then we have a sailing E-drive, which allows us to use the electric motor and the sails, and that we get really good efficiencies that way. We can point a little bit closer to windward and increase our speed. And then we have a E-drive without sails, which is a different algorithm, because with the sail drive and the engine just keeps giving a little push and a little push, and as the ship starts going faster and the sails get a better shape, one will work on the other. But with just with just the E-drive without sails, it just pushes, just a straight single. It's a shaft RPM and propeller pitch. And then if we want to go above, that'll take us up to about 8 knots with the E-drive, and if we want to go above 9 knots, then 9 to 15 or top speed, we'll use the diesel engine. And then this is just for going in and out of ports, sort of tacking and driving. This is a bow thruster. And what else? Well, there's a computer monitor we use for cameras, or we can use for navigation also, and then that computer panel over there will show us the conditions of the tanks and bilge piping, but it'll also show us the engine temperatures. But what I use it for a lot here is to see exactly how many liters per hour we're burning at any moment, so we can control how much fossil fuels we use and how we can avoid it. And then we have some interesting things like a little spotlight, windshield wipers, and depth sounder, and inclinometer. That's a rudder angle indicator, and over here we have emergency radios. This is an interesting place for a sailing vessel. We have 3 different decks, and this shows us which watertight doors and hatches are opened or closed. When we're sailing, we close everything, and it should all be green. Right now we're in port and everybody's running around, so it's all red. And then we can start emergency fire pumps and shut off vents and fans, and explosive meters for the helicopter, because we can land a helicopter where we had the meeting, the heli deck there, and fire alarm panel.
And you make your own water aboard?
We can, we do regularly.
Do you use the diesel generator to do that?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we like to top off here. It keeps our load down.
Alright.
Do you have any like solar stills that you use, or is it all?
We don't. You know, it's we have a solar cooker we just got on board, but it's more for demonstration purposes. We would, with the amount of electrical needs we have in this ship, it would require more solar panels than we have space for. And most of our deck space is taken up with sails for, you know, the sailing winches, and a lot of times with the sail set, it shadows the deck anyway. So our main conservation is sail, using the wind for propulsion. I'd like to get I'd like to get a big battery bank in there and have different ways to generate electricity, and we're looking at ways to reduce the cost. But we had to, when we designed the ship, we had to turn in a design to the shipyard. They had to bid on it. It's quite a long process, and then they came back with the bid, and any variations from that, the variation orders were really expensive. And there wasn't technology available at the moment off the shelf to do it. No, we didn't think we didn't, as an organization, didn't think it's a very good use of our donors' money to go into expensive research and development. Would have caused cost overruns and delays, and we can't wait to be perfect before we go out and go to work. So, but we'll be stopping in Europe and doing some modifications to try to make it even more efficient than it is. I think it's already very, very efficient. We're sailing probably 70% of the time, which is a huge savings in fossil fuels.